Shattered Illusions, A Mother's Unwavering Love by Reuben White. Nestled between the outskirts of Bankhead and the west side of Atlanta, lived a woman named Thelma. She was a single mother, a lioness raising her cub in a world that sometimes felt too harsh. Thelma had always seen the best in her son, Jacob, from the very beginning. With every mischievous grin and every clumsy stumble, she couldn't help but believe that he was a gift, a diamond in the rough, just waiting to shine. Jacob was a boy of contrasts. The world saw a reckless troublemaker, but Thelma saw her heart outside her body, a fragile creation she'd nurtured with every ounce of her being. He had an uncanny ability to hide his darker actions, presenting an image to his mother that was as beguiling as moonlight on water. He'd perfected the art of deceit, weaving a tapestry of falsehoods that veiled his double life. As the years wore on, Jacob's deceptions grew bolder. By the age of 13, he had spiraled into a life of theft, deceit, and deception that left even the most cynical astounded. The town whispered, wagging their heads and clucking their tongues, but they didn't know the boy like Thelma did. She held fast to the belief that he was just lost, a wanderer in need of her guiding light. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the quiet neighborhood, Thelma called out to her son. The air was thick with the aroma of a home-cooked meal, a humble offering of love. But there was only silence in response, save for the distant hum of music pouring from Jacob's room. Frowning, Thelma ascended the stairs, her heart pounding with a mixture of concern and foreboding. A knock on his door was met with an eerie quietness that unsettled her. Gathering her courage, she pushed open the door, and what she beheld left her breathless. The room was a treasure trove of ill-gotten gains, gleaming stereo equipment, shimmering cell phones, and jewelry that sparkled like a starlit sky. Her eyes widened as she peered into closets and drawers that held the evidence of a life she had been blissfully unaware of. Then, in the midst of this shocking tableau, stood Jacob. Guilt hung heavy in the air, a storm waiting to break. He opened his mouth to speak, to explain, but words faltered like birds with broken wings. Thelma's emotions roared to life, a tempest of anger, betrayal, and confusion. It was as if the world she had crafted around her son had shattered into 1,000 shards, leaving her vulnerable and exposed. Just as despair began to tighten its grip on her heart, there came a sharp knock at the door, an insistent, ominous sound that sent shivers down Thelma's spine. Before she could react, the room was flooded with uniformed officers, stern-faced and purposeful. They spoke of crimes committed, of a trail of deceit that had led them right to Jacob's door. Thelma's world crumbled further as the truth unfurled before her like a chilling novel. With the speed of lightning, Jacob tried to escape, a wild animal cornered by the consequences of his actions. He darted towards the attic, seeking refuge in a sea of shadows, but it was a futile attempt. The officers were relentless, unearthing him from his hiding place, his face a mask of desperation and fear. Handcuffed and shackled, Jacob was led away, his steps heavy with the weight of his transgressions. Thelma's screams pierced the air, a mother's anguish echoing through the corridors of her soul. "Not my son, not my son." Her voice carried the weight of a love that was too deep, too profound to be extinguished by his misdeeds. As the police cars faded into the distance, leaving behind a trail of dust and despair, Thelma collapsed onto her son's unmade bed. Tears flowed like a river, a testament to a love that had weathered storms and stood unwavering through even the darkest of nights. Her heart ached for the child she had lost, the dreams she had harbored, and the reality that now stood starkly before her. Days turned into weeks, and Thelma navigated a world devoid of color, her spirit as gray as the clouds that hung heavy in the sky. The town, once abuzz with whispers and judgments, now watched in hushed reverence as she walked the path of a mother's grief. They saw not just a woman mourning the downfall of her son, but a symbol of unconditional love in the face of heartbreak. In her solitude, Thelma found solace in the memories of a time when her son was innocent, a time when he looked at her with eyes that held the promise of a future untainted. And it was through these memories that a revelation began to take shape, a realization that her love, as unbreakable as the dawn, had the power to mend even the most shattered of souls. Months turned into a year, and a letter arrived, carrying the weight of words that were both apology and redemption. Jacob wrote of remorse, of the pain he had caused, and the lessons he had learned in the crucible of his mistakes. Thelma read his words with a heart that had been tempered by fire, her tears falling like rain on parched earth. With time, Jacob's journey led him down a path of rehabilitation and transformation. The shadows that had once consumed him began to recede, replaced by a flicker of hope that burned brighter with each passing day. He found strength in the love that had never wavered, in the memories of a mother who had seen beyond his mistakes and into the heart of the child she had raised. Years later, a reunion took place in the same humble town that had been witness to their trials. Thelma stood on a sunlit street, her heart in her throat as she waited for a figure to appear in the distance. And there he was, her son, a man forged by his missteps, sculpted by the unwavering love of a mother who had refused to let him go. Their embrace was a collision of past and present, a bridge between heartache and healing. In that moment, words were unnecessary, for their souls communicated in a language known only to those who had weathered the storms of life together. Moral ending. Shattered illusions. A mother's unwavering love is a tale that reminds us that love has the power to transcend even the darkest of times. Thelma's journey showcases the strength of a mother's heart, unwavering in its belief in the potential for change and redemption. It speaks to the depth of human connection, the transformative nature of forgiveness, and the resilience of the human spirit. In a world often marred by judgment and cynicism, this story serves as a beacon of hope, urging us to see beyond the mistakes of others and to embrace the power of love as a force that can mend even the most shattered souls.